Good afternoon all of you. So last time we had started with the 8th chapter. As you all know the name of the chapter, body movements. In this chapter simply we had started about the discussion related to the human body and the different kind of movements. So continuing further with the chapter, let us move further and see the different types of joints that are present in our body. So as you can see, the different type of joints in our body, though there are many types. Okay, today's class we will be studying what is the ball and socket joint, what is the pivot joint, and what is the hinge joint. Further, we will also study about fixed joints. So let us start our discussion. So the first type of joint which we are going to study today is ball and socket joints. There is one small activity, activity 2, present on page number 68 of your textbook. What you do in this activity is, you roll a strip of paper into a cylinder, make a small hole in an old rubber or plastic ball. Now, you have to push the paper cylinder into it. You can also stick the cylinder on the ball. Put the ball in a small bowl. Does the ball rotate freely inside the bowl? You can see in the picture, right? You have to think whether the ball will rotate freely inside the bowl, right? So, of course, the ball will rotate freely. So similar kind of rotating kind of bones or joints. We had studied in the previous class what is a joint. There are two bones, okay, they come together, such places, okay, or they are attached together. Such places we call them as the joints, right? So if you see near your shoulder region, what happens? There is one bone that is round. That round bone moves inside the other bone. You can see in the picture. So the end of one bone is just like a ball and the other one is like a socket. So we call it as a ball and socket joint. So this type of joint allows movements in all directions. There is more freedom for movement of the bones. The rounded end of one bone fits into the cavity of other bone. Example, ball and socket joint at the shoulder and arm. The second example is the joint present between the hip and the thigh region. So as you can see now clearly, the picture of the ball and socket joint near the shoulder region, right? You can see clearly near the arms for the rotation of the shoulder and the arms. What is needed? The movement of this fixed ball-like structure inside the socket. Okay, it's a cup-like structure that is needed. This forms the ball and socket joint near your shoulder region, right? Our shoulder region is made out of this kind of joint called as the ball and socket joint. Similarly, the thigh bone, it's fitted and it's joined with the hip bone with the help of this ball and socket joint. These are the two very important kind of bones in our body. They are the ball and socket joints. Okay, these are the very important joints in our body because of which we can move our hands and we can move our legs, right? So these kind of structures, they are made out of ball and socket joint. One bone is fixed and the other bone is rotating inside fixed end of the bone. So such kind of joints we call them as the ball and socket joint. Moving further, so let's move towards the next type of joint which is called as the pivotal joint. Okay, so the first type of joint we studied is the ball and socket joint, and the second type of joint we are studying in this chapter is the pivotal joint. Okay, so what is this pivotal joint? in this pivotal joint, a cylindrical bone, it rotates in a ring type structure. Okay, what is happening? Cylindrical bone is there and the cylindrical bone, it is rotating in a ring like structure. Okay, so which region is this present? The joint where our neck joins our head. We can see, okay, the joint where our neck is joining our head. Okay, that region you can find. There's a straight bone that is rotating in a cylindrical bone. Now, what are the advantages of this pivotal joint? What is the importance of this pivotal joint? This pivotal joint allows us to bend our head forward and backward and turn the head to our right or left. So what are the advantages of this pivotal joint? A cylindrical structure is rotating in a ring-like structure, okay, and because of this, we are able to bend our head forward and backward. We are able to turn the head right or we are able to turn our head left. Because of which joint? Because of this pivotal joint. Okay, so that is why it is important for our body, right? Next, the next type of joint which we are going to discuss today is the hinge joint. What is it called? It is called as the hinge joint. You might have seen your door, right, in your home. When you open and you close your door a few times, okay, you can find a structure in the middle of your door where you are opening and closing it. Okay, that is called as the hinge. So this hinge, what does it do? It allows the door to move back and forth. Similar is the hinge joint. What is the importance of this hinge joint in our body? So this, similar like to the hinge of the door, the hinge joint in our body, it resembles the hinge on the door. It allows the back and forth movement, right? So back and forth movement becomes easier because of this kind of bone. Okay, one small activity 3 in your textbook, right? What you need to do in this activity is you make a cylinder with cardboard or thick chart paper and then you attach a small pencil to the cylinder by piercing the cylinder at the center. Okay, now make a hollow half cylinder from the cardboard such that the rolled up cylinder can fit inside it easily. The hollow half cylinder with the rolled up cylinder sitting inside it allows the movement like a hinge. That is what you can see in the picture given below, right? Now, what happens? The movement, okay, the movement is totally different from the two types of joints we studied previously. The first one we studied is the ball and socket joint. Second one is the pivotal joint. In this hinge joint, what is happening? Just only back and forth movement is allowed. Okay. Example, you can see in the picture the elbow joint. Okay. The knee joint. Similarly, there is the ankle joint. Okay, in these 3 joints, you can move them. You can move your different parts of our organs only back and forth. You cannot turn them, right? So, these joints are called as the elbow joint, right? Now, we are studying about the fixed joints, right? So, what are these fixed joints? There are some joints in our body. We are not able to move these joints, as in the name itself, fixed joints. These joints we cannot move, okay? These bones we cannot move them, and such kind of joints we call them as the fixed joints, okay? So what are these fixed joints? These bones, the bones that are forming the fixed joints, they cannot be moved. Example, our upper jaw has got many bones, we cannot move them. Similarly, in our skull, if you can see the picture, right? You can see clearly bones in our skull. We cannot move them. So such joints where the bones cannot move, we call them as the fixed joints. Right? What we call them? We call them as the fixed joints. So these fixed joints cannot move at all. In the ball and socket joints, we find that one bone acts as a ball and the other as a socket. And that's why movement is possible. In the pivotal joint, okay, what happens? It exactly acts like a pivot. In the third hinge joint, the hinge of the door you have seen. So it acts like the bone acts like the hinge of the door. Back and forth movement is possible, right? And in the last one, fixed joints, we find that such joints are immovable. We cannot move such kind of joints. Okay, so these are the 4 kinds of joints which we have studied today. So just take a look at them, right? So you can find ball and socket joint near your shoulder region, hinge joint near your knee region, pivot joint, okay? Similarly, the fixed joint near the skull region. Pivot joint you find near the head, at the end of your head, where your head is connected to the spinal cord. Okay, it allows only rotation, right? So that is the importance of the pivotal joint, right? So with this we are ending today's discussion. Thank you all of you. Waiting for you in the online class. Okay.